Ed Welch standing by from AAA right now. And gas prices are on the rise. Ed, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Did you, first of all, see that accident that happened on 12 South over near the exit that would go
to 840?
Over to 840 or over into the Hartford Shopping Center?
I did not see that accident.
It had traffic shut down on Tuesday, and it was interesting because it happened right around 8. It was going on about 8:15, 8:30 when people.
Yeah, I was out of town on Tuesday morning at that time. But that cloverleaf, if that's what you want to call it, has always been.
That's a tough,
very interesting intersection because you've got people trying to get on and off the highway there, and they're all at speed.
And there's a yield sign. If you're coming off Route 8 and getting on to 12 South to go over towards Sangertown, there is a yield sign there, and people don't. Yet there's traffic that is going on 12 South trying to merge to get on to 8. So
exactly,
but they don't yield there.
Did you ever see the old can of worms? They called it out in Rochester.
No.
Well, out in Rochester, they had 4 lanes of traffic trying to do exactly that. Never mind 2 lanes.
Wow.
And for many, many years, the can of worms, as they called it, just outside of downtown Rochester, was just an absolute disaster, especially on a nice, greasy day. Remember last year when the fuel truck went over there?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, and this,
as a matter of fact, it's still a cleanup site as far as environmentally purposes.
And this is interestingly, they're saying this accident. They released details. They're saying that the person coming around that off ramp didn't negotiate it properly, lost control, and then went airborne. It was a crazy accident.
Oh my goodness!
And it held. And there's an accident there. It holds up traffic all the way back onto the arterial. So
people should be going around that. Around 20 miles an hour around the entire curve there.
Yep.
And really, you've got to yield. You've got to stay, really defensive as you come through that intersection.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk gas prices. The gas prices are rising. We're almost at $3. Are we at $3 yet?
Well, actually, we are, and that's breaking news. As of this morning, we broke the $3 plane at $3.01 a gallon.
Wow!
And that's the first time we've seen that since 2014. So it's been a long time since we were at $3 a gallon.
And it's interesting because we're producing so much of our own oil now.
It is, and what's really interesting, and from things that I read because I follow the oil markets. There's a lot of issues about transporting that oil from one place to the other with pipelines and things of that nature. In other words, we've got kind of like a few bottlenecks that actually prevent some of this from getting to market fast enough. But one of the things I look at, and there's a company called Baker Hughes. You can look it up. And what they do is they report the number of oil rigs in the United States. And I always look at that to tell me what's going on with the oil business. And right now, again, this is in the United States itself. There's 844 rigs producing oil. That's 132 more than 1 year ago today. So you're 100% right, Bill. We're producing oil at record pace. But there's some other things going on that has affected the price. Number one is Venezuela is, for all intents and purposes, out of the oil business. And that country has undergone, a total collapse, we'll just call it, to be fair. And you may recall some years ago when they were shipping heating oil to the Northeast as a publicity stunt in the wintertime. So they're kind of off the grid. And, of course, last week when the president decided to pull out of the Iran deal, that caused the oil markets to kind of shudder a bit. So we're hovering at about $70 a barrel on the world market this morning.
Wow, and we were down as low as, it was down. How low did it go?
It was in the 20s.
In the 20s. Wow.
It was in the 20s. And, right now today we're paying 50 cents, actually more than that. A year ago today, gas was $2.45.
I was the other day. I had to fill for my my lawnmower. I had to fill. By the way, I could not get my garden tractor started. I replaced the spark plug. I could not start this thing. It would start, and then I tried to start it again. I couldn't start it. I didn't realize it had 2 spark plugs. And
they generally do.
And one was bad.
Make sure you drain the old gas out in the wintertime. Remember that unless you're buying non-ethanol gas, as it sits over the winter, the ethanol will actually separate out of the gasoline and cause a lot of problems.
I got to tell you, because of your show, Ed, and of course, Auto Talk is on Saturday mornings on WIBX. I realized that I had been putting the just regular unleaded into my garden tractor, lawnmower, whatever you have, and that does damage. I didn't realize it. So the other day, I'm buying the high test without ethanol, which is expensive, and I had gone in because my credit card wasn't swiping, so I ran my credit card inside, and I put it at $50. So I filled the jug up with the non-ethanol gas.
You don't use $50 of gas for your lawnmower, Bill.
No, but then I
was going to say, what are you mowing, the Ponderosa up there?
Then I had to fill my car. So, because I was on...
You put that stuff in your car.
Absolute empty. And let me tell you, I didn't think I could switch over because they set it inside. So I was already doing the high test stuff. So then I tried to... I'm like, well, I'll just fill it. The price is extremely high for that. I mean...
that's around 25 cents a gallon more.
Yeah,
and,
holy moly.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, what's interesting, and on a future date, I'd love to talk about this. There is a plan afoot to actually change the octane ratings of gasoline in this country and forcing us to go to this E85 stuff. And what is really crazy about that is granted, if you got a new car, it's not going to matter. But according to the United States Energy Department, E85 can produce between 15 and 27% less gas mileage than what you're buying normally at the pump, okay?
Wow.
I've read road tests of cars getting 25% less MPG, just changing those gases from, again, having a modern car that can actually use that stuff. So what's really interesting is the government is being sued by some states to not change the EPA mileage ratings. In other words, they want you to get to that 50 miles per gallon, right? Yeah. And on the other hand, they're going to force us to use gas that lowers MPG.
Interesting.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
I had a Honda Prelude years ago that said on the manual that you had to put the high test grade in. And I have to tell you that if I didn't, the engine pinged. But yes. I was always told, though, let it ping. It's not causing any damage, and in the long run, you're spending so much money extra on gasoline, you're better off getting the regular. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. If you're driving around town, I would agree with that. If you're going 70, 80 miles an hour down the road, I would say not true.
Okay.
So it depends on the use of the vehicle. If you're just putting along, downtown Utica here, and you're going from the valley to Utica, and you're running 35, 50 miles an hour, yeah, you're probably not going to hurt nothing. The computer will actually adjust the timing to try to get the ping to go away. But if you're going to be on the highway over a period, again, like from here to New York, let's say on the thruway, you're running 70 miles an hour, I would want to make sure I had the right octane in there.
So is it worth spending the extra? I mean, my vehicle currently doesn't call for that.
I know, like some of the BMWs and stuff, they
you should only use the octane that you need.
Okay, got it.
Because you're wasting money otherwise. If your car runs on 89, don't spend a penny more than buying 89. The cheapest 89 you can find, actually.
All right, and get every drop out of there. I shake the thing. I just shake it.
Exactly. Now, on the quality of gasoline, not to make this more confusing, but there's what's called top-tier gasoline.
Yep.
And you'll find it, for example, at Citgo stations, not to give them a plug, but that's what they sell. And what this has is a better detergent package. Now, you may recall that back in the 80s, there was a big court issue with the Federal Trade Commission when people used to say, my gas will make your car cleaner than your gas, right? These guys got sued. Yeah. The federal government basically created a package that says, okay, all gas has to be equal. Well, what's happening today is some of the cars out there, especially some of the modern engines, aren't running as good as they could because of that gasoline quality. So the automakers have convinced the oil companies to actually up the detergent package. And this is what the top-tier gasoline is. Now, it's a couple of cents more a gallon.
Yeah.
And what I do, about every third or fourth tank full, I run a tank of that through my vehicle just to act like you're putting fuel injection cleaner in every once in a while. You follow me?
Yep.
So I can't tell you how harsh and confusing this is for the consumer. because you've got three different kinds of gasoline. You got top tier and lower tier. And then, of course, you've got this E85 stuff looming on the horizon, which I would never burn if I can get away with not burning it.
Yeah. Rob in the Valley just sent me a picture of 3049. That's where they are down there.
I'm not kidding. This morning on a Riscony.
Our daily pricing is based on a composite. What we do is we buy transaction data. Now, I don't know that you bought gas, but we know what you paid.
Right.
So what we do is we take the Utica Rome MSA, and we do it by county, by the way. Interestingly, the cheapest gas in New York State as of this morning was in Cattaraugus County out by Buffalo on the Pennsylvania border at $2.86. The most expensive gasoline this morning is at Westchester County at $3.18.
And I wonder if we could all hop on the thruway and get cheaper gas. You know how I think you were telling us about how they actually raise their prices. There's a time that they can raise their prices during the week.
Yeah, the Thruway Authority kind of governs that to a degree. And, another interesting thing you talked about this morning, the Thruway Authority, about Geraldo coming up on the canal.
Yeah.
Well, he's not paying any tolls on that canal, I can tell you.
That's true.
Right. That's a good point. And by the way...
And for many, many years, the Thruway tolls that we pay were supporting the maintenance of the canal. And it was one of the things that AAA was we were in court about this, because your tolls should not be paying for the canal. Nothing against the canal.
Yep.
But every time I went to Lock 20, I'm thinking to myself, boy, these boats are going in and out of there.
Yeah.
It's 680,000 gallons of water every time they open that lock.
It's pretty crazy. Interesting stuff. How high are we going to go, do you think, Ed, this summer?
Well, I think, again, it's hard to totally predict this, because if I can accurately do this really well, I'd be making a lot of money, right? But the truth of the matter is, I think we're going to see it level off sometimes after Memorial Day.
All right.
There is, we'll talk about Memorial Day next week in summer travel. We got some interesting things about that, and some really crazy congestion times in some of these cities that we have done some math on that I'd love to share with everybody next week.
All right, cool.
But I think we're going to see at least 10 cents more a gallon between now and about 2 weeks.
Wow. All right, Ed, we'll talk again next week. We appreciate it. Ed Welch's Auto Talk is on Saturday mornings on WIBX. Thanks so much.
You have a great day, and happy motoring.
All right, thanks so much.